Hey everybody, this is Steve Codan of the Feng Shui Cure. Welcome to Module 7. Now if you remember in Module 6, we went over one of the 4 most important tools, the Yin Yang theory, and we spent quite a bit of time on that. We're now going to do a little bit of a shorter version of that. We're going to do some before and afters so you can start to see that the Yin and Yang can be done in a lot of different ways. Let's take another look at this Tai Chi symbol and make sure that you understand it and feel positive about it. There, again, is an awful lot of reasoning behind it, but if you notice it's in a 50-50% ratio right now with very curved lines. I want you to see the curved lines. Again, we want to try to stay away from straight lines as much as we can. But you notice that one half of it is white or light, and that is the Yang portion, and it has a dot of the Yin. And then on the other side we have the dark portion, which is of course the Yin, and it has a small dot of some of the Yang portion. So again, it's a 50-50 ratio right now. Always think of Feng Shui as something that's to be in balance. But when we get to rooms, you know, we always want to make sure we take into account the purpose of the rooms. So, again, this is a very important symbol, and you want to keep in mind that it has to do with balance, but when we get to the rooms, like a bedroom, for example, we're going to start to think more 60-40 or 70-30 Yin to Yang. Okay. Now, here is a house that was redone, and the changes were fairly subtle other than adding that front porch. The front porch, of course, really dramatically changed it greatly. You notice that the columns are rounded and softened the front of the house really nicely. The trim was picked up a little bit of a notch, but the exterior color was actually made a little more yin. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but don't forget, it's not just color in yin to yang. We're talking about, again, the idea of softening things or making things harder, or actually making things colder instead of warmer. So there's a lot of different adjectives that you need to keep in mind. Most people think of color, and that certainly is a big aspect of it, but of course there's has to do with lighting and all those other things. Now, without a doubt, the top left-hand house, to me, is quite poor looking. And it did try to bring a little bit of the Yang into the picture, but it sorely was hurting in a lot of ways. So the changes they made, which are below, I think you can see they made it a much more cheerful looking house, a more Yang looking house by not being so garish. The front porch has now been softened also. You know, some of those columns are actually quite rounded. They've made the door a lot more obvious. There's nice contrast between the door and the exterior color. So the exterior color is more Yang. The door itself is a little more Yin. And they even worked on the mailbox out front and everything, making it more cheerful, a little more Yang, a little more friendly. And then if you look at the townhouses on the right-hand side, again, they went from Yin to Yang here too. They definitely cheered up the door quite a bit. They made it go from a dark brown to a red, which is definitely one way to make it more Yang. But they also lightened up the exterior color and gave the trim a lot more pop by making it more brilliant white. So the color had a lot to do with this particular situation. But again, you can change a house from Yin to Yang or Yang to Yin by working even on the landscaping. So here's just a couple of, I think, pretty good examples. Now certainly, this is a Yang colored house, and it definitely stood out in a neighborhood that really, in a lot of ways, everything's just sort of blended in and looked pretty blah. I agree that it's not great looking, okay, but it does stand out. And you can see that sometimes just changing a house and giving a little bit more pop like this can make it stand out. Now the trim color, the door color, are all important aspects of getting a better ratio, or at least the kind of ratio they're looking for. Some people want their exterior to be a little more yin. That's maybe more of their personality. But some people want it to be more yang. They want to be having an entrance that's more inviting, more welcoming. And I think you'll agree that they pulled that off in this particular picture. The door is very much in contrast to the exterior now. Not that the other one wasn't, but it's a much more cheerful door. The flowers definitely make it more welcoming. They even worked on the columns to a degree, which you probably can't quite tell, but they're a little bit more softened also. So the front door is a very, very good place to always think about if you're wanting to change the yin to yang or yang to yin. Now rooms, of course, are another way to do it. The paint color from one to the other definitely sharpened up the focus in there. It made it more yang. This person actually ran the business out of their house, and felt like in a lot of ways it was somewhat disorganized, and they didn't feel their best. They didn't feel the most energized. So changing it from one to the other really created the situation. The one on the right, it certainly is a lot less cluttered. Okay, it balances the elements out a heck of a lot better too. And if you notice the chairs behind the desk, giving that person a much more powerful position in that room. They can see not only the door that you see to their left, there was another door straight ahead. Now again, lighting is a very good way to change from yin to yang or yang to yin also. And in this particular room, it came off as a room that was really not real up. Didn't have a lot of energy to it. And just by doing what they did, by putting in a couple of lamps with higher wattage bulbs in it, it brought the energy up quite nicely. They certainly got rid of some of the clutter in there. They made the flow a lot better, I think you'd agree. But again, don't ever forget the idea that lighting and all the different aspects of it can help you to get a better ratio. Now, this room should have been yang in the first place, but at this point, when they started off, it really was going the other direction. It was not a very inviting place for their visitors. Bathrooms, of course, are the same kind of a situation. Bathrooms, in a lot of cases, should be a little bit more yin. It's a place where you actually are going to spend time by yourself. Okay, it's not a place where you're going to have an awful lot of company in there. But still, if it gets to be too yin or too dark or too uninviting, it's also going to be somewhat depressing for you. So you can see that they did a very nice job of lightening it up. They did change the lights above the mirror. Notice the mirror is a lot better looking with the framing on it. And of course, the white trim really pops beautifully on those light blue walls. So even though the bathroom is a more yin environment, it can go too far that way. And the same with a bedroom also. Now there's a lot of accessories that you can use in a bathroom or in other rooms that can bring you into the ratio that you're looking for. Again, the ratio we're looking for is usually 60 to 40, at the extreme 70 to 30, okay? So the purpose of a bathroom is more yin. So it should be a little bit more 60% yin to 40% yang. So there's still going to be quite a bit of yang in there. So if your walls are really sort of blah, okay, not very colorful, you know, maybe a shower curtain might do it for you. Certainly these shower curtains are going to probably knock your eyes off a little bit, but certainly in some aspects they might really create a very nice balance in a bathroom that is really sort of going too far the other direction. A towel can certainly do the same thing, as can throw rugs on the floor. Don't forget about the throw rugs a little bit. I did mention it earlier a little bit. The throw rugs can sometimes create the idea of clutter, and they also can be somewhat of a security hazard, as people sometimes tend to trip on them. So be careful with those a little bit, but it is a good way to add a little bit of the yin or the yang into an environment, whether it's a kitchen or a bathroom. Now here's a kitchen that was a little bit too yang. Kitchens should be yang. You don't want the cook or the preparer to fall asleep. And again, kitchens have become more of a gathering place than ever. And so in a lot of cases, you have your company in here. It's not a place to come off as blah, but you can go too far. The one on the top left, because of the very, very yellow walls, and maybe even added to the white cabinets, give it a little bit too much of the yang. So therefore, actually taking it down a notch was very helpful in a lot of ways. So there's an example for you. The kitchen down on the bottom was actually a little bit too yin. And so they decided to make it pop a lot more. This time they made the cabinets white. They didn't go crazy with the walls, okay? They did change the countertops out slightly. So again, a kitchen should be more yang, and it should be more like 60 to 40. Now bedrooms, of course, should be more yin, okay? But they can also go too far. A bedroom can become depressing if you go too far. So let's think, for example, what if you had a bedroom that was 20% yang, but 80% yin? Now, it might be slightly comfortable for you in some ways. It might maybe even give you a good night's sleep, but it's certainly not going to be terribly encouraging. So the bedroom on the left had a lot of things going against it. One, it had its headboard up against a window, and as you already know, that's not the best place to put a bed. You want to put it on a solid wall, the mountain in the classic armchair, and you want to be able to see the doors. The new arrangement on the right-hand side sees not only the door that leads into it, but also the bathroom door. So it has full control of the whole room at this point. Okay? The wall color was lightened up a little bit. The rug is a little lighter. The lighting was changed. So you can see just by making a few changes, you actually get a better ratio. Now certainly you can go too yin, too yang. And these examples certainly represent, especially the one on the right being too yang. That's a very, very overpowering color over there. And that, of course, is an awful lot of fire. But it also has water in it. So there is actually a competing element situation in there, too. It's up against a window also. So that bedroom on the right, although, maybe to some of you might look very attractive, has a lot of problems with respect to somebody getting a good night's sleep. So it's out of whack, it's out of balance. And I just had to show these two for you because I found them on the internet. Wow, what can I say? Really scary looking. And again, I would think that anybody sleeping in either one of those beds would probably have some difficulty getting a good night's sleep. So again, when you're thinking about yin and yang, think about a lot of aspects. There's a lot of ways to do this. It's a very important theory. It's the second of 4 tools. And again, the first thing you want to do when you walk into any environment and you want to consider this is you draw the midpoint line. And again, it should be parallel to the street. If there are 2 streets, if it's on a corner, you're going to be drawing a couple of lines. But always consider which street has the most traffic, and that'll help you considerably to find the room on the first floor that is the most yin. But again, a lot of houses, actually most houses, are really not on a corner. So the midpoint line is a little easier to find, and you find that the back of the house is entirely yin, and that's good. So after you do that, then diagnose which rooms are more yin and which are more yang. You may have some yin rooms, like a bedroom, up towards the front of the house. And so they need a little extra time and effort on your part. But don't forget, there's again a lot of ways to do this, and we want to make sure that every room is closer to a 60-40 ratio. Again, the extreme is 70-30. So when you do this, and you do your job well, you're going to find out that not only will your bedroom feel better, but the whole house will feel better. So I hope that helped to pull some things together for you for the yin-yang theory. And we'll be seeing you in the next module in just a little bit.